Can you
trying.
talk about the NASA stating Earth's atmosphere is actually extending beyond the moon?
That was a very,
Wow.
very intriguing article that I had read, and it seems to be um, requiring more research.
Hmm.
But from what I've read, it that's what they're saying is apparently the atmosphere, despite the fact that it gets weaker and weaker the further it gets,
Right.
this article is saying that it actually extends all the way to the moon.
That
Little concerning
is.
because I've
Oof.
heard other individuals who talk about conspiracy that have always said that the moon had an atmosphere. Now,
Right.
whether or not that's of the moon or perhaps was always because the Earth's atmosphere extended to it, those are, a separate argument, but very intriguing to
Mm.
know that that is what we're being told right now. What do you think about that specifically?
That is very interesting. I'm trying to think of I'm trying to wonder what the effects on the planet are if the extension of the atmosphere is weakening our atmosphere, or if it's enhancing. So if it's weakening if it's outreaching further slightly and lightly, but our atmosphere is weakening because of that extension, then that's concerning.
Well, I don't think it's weakening, but I think that by the time that it gets to the moon, it's not as strong as what we have here on Earth. But the fact is, it's still detected on the moon.
Well, and then if our atmosphere is getting to the moon, then at some point, you would start to think that that could have an effect on gravity of the moon and the positioning of the moon and Earth, and of course, with how
I
the.
would think it also has a relation to the just the surface temperatures of the moon,
Mhm.
because some people, despite how crazy they might sound, say that you could be on the moon without a spacesuit. That sounds insane.
Right.
But if perhaps the information we had in the past isn't accurate, the moon has more of a magnetic system that than we understood. Magnetic,
Well, people
you
think
know.
it's a big like brass ball or something, or aluminum ball, or.
But if it also has an atmosphere,
Uh-huh.
like for example, what if the atmosphere is much stronger than we can detect, and only right now we're just detecting the fact that it can reach that far?
Mm-hmm.
So could it be possible that you can breathe on the moon? I personally don't believe so, but I've heard some people with some knowledge and some credibility actually say that you can. So I'm not going to discount that just because it sounds odd. I just think it's
Well,
very intriguing that we just recently found out that our atmosphere on Earth reaches to the moon. So sometimes it takes a little bit of time for the facts to catch up with the truth.
we're our atmosphere though is able to be enclosed by this greenhouse effect, and on the moon, I would believe that although the atmosphere is present, it's it's not constant. So I wouldn't think you could really breathe on the moon because there's no. I
Well,
mean,
you would
there's.
think that, but what's very intriguing is the fact that during the 50s and 60s, when the whole intent was to try to colonize the moon, is that multiple anomalies were noticed flowing across the surface of the moon. Clouds, purple clouds,
Hmm.
were noticed floating over the surface of the moon. NASA categorized this stuff and put it into a report before they started to send satellites and such and probes to the moon because they wanted to understand what anomalies were being previously witnessed. And this is an absolute documented fact, is these purple clouds. And again, you need an atmosphere to have clouds. But
Do
these clouds were noticed to like go over the surface of the moon.
you think the moon's fake?
Um, what do you mean by fake?
Do you think the moon was engineered?
Okay, well, that's different from what I was just thinking. But engineered, I kind of believe that, yes, it is an artificial construct that has been placed into orbit. Some people have mentioned that perhaps it's a holographic image.
Hmm.
There are videos out there that show that there's some sort of band or wave that flows over the moon's surface, which looks like a old television refresh rate. But this is noticed on multiple videos from multiple different people. It's
So
a very interesting concept, but I do believe there is a solid object in orbit of the globe that we live on. and this object has too many anomalies for us to consider it to be natural. Specifically, the eclipses that we encounter on Earth, how it fits perfectly and covers the sun perfectly, how it's much larger than any other moon in the system that we live in, the solar system.
Yeah. Of all the places the eclipse could occur, it's exactly on pinpoint lineup.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's the fact that it's been said to ring like a bell. There's the fact that there are cultures that say that this object was not in orbit until at least 30,000 years ago. There's too much information in regards to the moon for us to just dismiss it as just conspiracy, when mathematically, if you just want to take it dispassionately and just look at the math, mathematically, the moon should not be there. Simple.
That's wow. What a take. That was a hell of a take. Glad I asked. I was wondering what you'd say. I don't know myself, but the more I've lived, the more I'm alive, the more it's like, wow, that, this is too good to be true. Like, it feels too good to be true. And that moon is so perfect. Some of the indents and, beatings, it's legitimately protecting us from so many asteroids.
Oh my God, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because it literally can be proven that the moon has acted as a sort of gravity shield towards any asteroid coming towards us. It actually allows anything incoming to be thrown off into deep space and acts as a protector for our planet.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. It's almost as if it's an AI. All the things it does are miraculous. It almost acts like an AI. Also, we notice from the crater indents, they don't visualize the same way as on Earth or on maybe a planet that we'd be used to. They're shallow. They're wide and they're shallow.
Exactly. That would only occur if there was a hard surface underneath the regolith that basically would cause them to be a shallow impact, because there's a hard surface underneath, an exoskeleton, basically a structure of a structure that was pulled into orbit.
And that gets into all kind. Then you can really get into speculation of who put it there, why, and did someone put it here, and is it engineered? But let's assume we kind of agree that something is up. And did a Earth species who learned how to go to space that could perfect things on Earth to make things better on Earth put it there? Did aliens come here and help us and put it there to protect us? Is it God who created everything so perfect so that we could exist the way we do in space according to the rules of space and math and laws of physics and stuff like that? So, or are we in a simulation? If we're in a simulation, then would there really be need for a moon to be there to protect us, though? Is this all coincidence? It just seems very hard to believe the more you look at it that this is all coincidence. And I guess if you get the perfect situation, it explains why life did flourish on the planet like it has. Because if you get a perfect situation, you can see how we're here because of all these perfections. Whereas on Mars and other planets, it seems like they're dead and nothing is there, which is another whole conversation. But yeah, very interesting. And we'll have to do a whole episode on that. Maybe next time, I'm not sure, or down the line. But I appreciate the question. It really got us off into something interesting.
Oh, that was a great question.
Yeah, that was really cool. And that was after Love and Dave too. So we gave you love and then gave you that question. So we will talk more about the moon in the future, and it is very interesting.
It's one of my two greatest passions: ancient history and the moon.
And that's and that's what makes you wonder why we never went back. Almost, they got this information. They said this shouldn't be possible. This is what we found. And then. But they didn't want to go back. I just never, no matter what, whether they found nothing, whether they found aliens, whether they found some new thing that would blow the minds of the whole world of Earth, or whatever they found or saw or didn't see, why did we not go back I will never know for once. Let's go to the questions. So we've got questions from people. And they're on Patreon, on the Patreon. So if anybody wants to hear full episodes in audio or wants to be able to download these episodes and wants to be able to support these episodes so that I feel we need to keep making them, please check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Joe Cronin Show. It's patreon.com/Joe Cronin Show, and that's where you can download all these episodes in full length in audio form, and you get a whole bunch of other stuff over there. And also you can ask questions like this. Nito Exodus says, can you do more shows with Dave Rose? So there you go, ego boost.